We should be live. Should show up in a second. Da-da-da-da. Good morning, good afternoon, good however you are doing. We should be live right now. You should be seeing us. And yep, there we are. How is everybody doing tonight? This is Omnibros Live, and we are here to bring you Christmas cheers or hurt your wallets, whichever way you want to go. Today we have, of course, the always present Mr. Jest, the Omni Dog.
Woo! Merry Christmas! Happy New Hose Day or something. I'm gonna jingle the bells every time I present my books.
I like that.
It's Christmas, man.
How are you, Jess?
Good. I'm good. As always, just happy to be here.
Same. Always. Just getting through the hustle and bustle of the holiday season, right?
Absolutely.
And as always, we have Mr. Riley Moore, your Omnibus collector, and your King Poobah, and the god of the Omnibus Collectors something Facebook group. Jess, can you throw me a bone and help me out with
Pop, swap, and drop community. Wait, the Omnibus Collectors swap and community. No.
The Order of the Water Buffaloes.
I like that better. Do they have a call, right? They have like a saying or something like that. The Order of the Water Buffaloes.
I don't remember.
Oh, the Grand Poobah.
Yeah. Not to get too far off topic already, but this Flintstones book is fucking incredible right now. It is the most subversive thing that is being published on the stands right now.
That's what I heard. I heard it's awesome.
I read the first issue the other day and I was like,
yeah, it's supposed to be great. I can't wait for it to get collected so I can read it.
I think it's probably one of, if not the absolute best thing that DC has coming out right now, it's one of the top 5.
Yeah, it's one of those books where I'm reading it. I read the first issue and I went, does DC know they're actually publishing this?
They know they can make comics this good.
Oh, we're bashing DC already. It's going to be a good show. It's going to be a real good show. But yes, for those of you that are wondering, today is going to be a little bit different of a pace. We are kind of skipping some of the usual stuff because it is the holiday season and this week is Black Friday. So because of that, we decided to give you guys a holiday gift giving episode. This is going to be an episode where we pretty much go over different things based on category that we think you should pick up for that special loved one, the sports fanatic, the manga addict, or your weird cousin that your mom tells you to stay away from. And of course, the family member that comes to dinner every holiday season that you always wonder, who the hell invited that jackass? So with that said, let's get the show started. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, we will be bringing the Yo Mama jokes back. So please get those ready because that was pretty much the highlight of last week's stream.
In a couple of weeks, this is just going to turn into a Yo Mama hangout. We're not even going to talk comics anymore. It's just going to be Yo Mama jokes for an hour and a half.
It's going to be that for just an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I wonder how long that'll last.
Based on everybody's contributions, it could go on for a while.
Or as Nicholas Munoz pretty much pointed, if you are a selfish bastard, gifts for yourself. So with that said, the first category that we are getting into today is gifts for the children, gifts for the kids. So I'm going to let Mr. Jess take over for us right now. Jess, what you got?
Speaking of kids, Ryan Sace is a bastard. I just wanted to lead off with that.
Here.
So he doesn't have to stay up too late to hear me say his name, connected with bastardization. So first book for kids is Feathers. I loved this book, and it is an all-ages book. I talked about it last week, so I don't need to go into it in too much detail, but for those of you who did not see last week, Feathers is about kid who's orphaned in the wrong part of the city. It's a walled city, nice place on one side, ghetto on the other. This kid is born with black feathers around him. He gets found and adopted by an old man, and it is about ostensibly It's about a Pied Piper type evil guy who is stealing all the children from the ghettoized part of the area, and a little girl from the nice part of the area gets lost in the ghettoized part, and Feathers helps her, and it is not too scary, but it's very well written and very well done, and it has pretty much everything you want: beginning, middle, end, protagonist you can identify and get feel for, a couple of protagonists you can feel for. Exciting, thrilling, but not so scary that a little kid can't dig it. Feathers is my book for kids of all ages, including Welshmen who are bastards and act like little kids. Ryan says.
Hey, leave Ryan alone. He's the unofficial mascot of the group.
He really is. Yes, so that book gets the Omnidog seal of approval for kids.
And if you want the Omnidog seal of approval, all it will cost you is to PayPal just $59.99, and he will send you a very nice card for the holidays.
That's a deal. Thank you, my agent. I will definitely do that.
I'm always here for you, Jess. Don't worry about it.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I've got you money-wise, man. Come on. You got to hustle this. You got to make some money out of this. God, you think we're getting paid for this?
Got to monetize this.
Okay, Riley, what you got, man?
I chose a book I actually talked about a little while ago, and that is Pokemon Adventures, the Pokemon manga. I figured this was timely because the new Pokemon game just came out. I haven't gotten it yet. I was very tempted to go grab it today.
Yes!
I was actually going to grab Moon, so whenever I do get it, I guess we can trade and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So the new Pokemon game's out, and that means there's going to be a little bit of a new Pokemon craze going on the streets. And everyone who is a kid or is a kid inside is going to want to pick up some extra Pokemon stuff. And I totally recommend the Pokemon manga series. The first 7 volumes of this series are collected in a box set that you can find for under $30, I think, online, or around $30. And it goes through the story of the red, blue, and yellow games. So I haven't read all 7 yet. I've read the red and blue adventure, and it was a lot of fun. Really great. Really just brought me back to my childhood. And if I was a kid, or not a kid, if I had kids and they were into that kind of stuff, I would totally recommend them to pick up Pokemon. I would totally buy these volumes for them because they're just a fun and safe little read for kids. And for the adults, they're actually a little bit violent, but like not in a way that it's like censored just enough that I wouldn't be worried about my kid reading it. But you know what's going on.
Sex? There's sex in Pokemon books?
You get, like, no. There's scenes of like Pokemon getting cut in half and shit. Like,
Whoa, what? Wait, what?
yeah, it's pretty fucking violent at times. It gets up there in violence, but overall it's pretty kid friendly, and it says all ages on the back, so there you go.
Well, I mean, those were published in the 90s, right? I mean, we grew up on I grew up on like Schwarzenegger movies and stuff like that. So like what's violent then is a little bit different than what's violent today.
I grew up on Biker Mice from Mars and Street Sharks.
Oh, hell yeah. Street Sharks. Wow. Now you're taking me back. By the way, for those of you that are wondering, this is also a great little gift for that family member or the inner child inside of you, because I've been playing the hell out of Sun, especially since I'm on break from work right now. And my lovely lady, she got Moon. So we've been doing that as kind of like a couple thing. And it's been a lot of fun, just to piggyback off of what you said. So if you haven't picked up Pokemon Sun and you're even casually interested in, or you fell off, I recommend it. It's probably the best one for me since Gold and Silver. I've been enjoying it a lot.
Do they have sex in that?
No.
Well, you can breed Pokemon.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Do
you can.
See them breeding, or
no.
well, it's not much of a sale for me then if I can't see Pokemon's having sex. So
Although I'm sure there's.
I mean, I could tell you some sites that you could go to, but
I bet there are.
Although I'm pretty sure it's not that hard of a search. I think there is Pokemon porn out there. I'm not entirely sure, but
Oh, blah.
hey, there's a niche market for everything.
I know. I blame myself for bringing this up.
Somebody said always lowering the tone, Jess.
Taking it. I can't help it. My body's in the gutter with my brain.
If it wasn't for the gutter, I wouldn't have a place to live.
That is true.
like
Okay.
D-Man.
Like what?
Like D-Man.
D-Man. Wait, okay. What's a D-Man again?
The most unfortunately named superhero.
Yeah, isn't he like he's somebody's partner or something like that? Got announced this weekend.
He was originally introduced in Mark Grunwald's run on Captain America.
He's gay. That's right. They announced he's gay.
Yeah, they didn't really announce it. He just, in the newest issue of the Sam Wilson Captain America series, he's doing stuff like it's his own little solo story, and he just happens to have a boyfriend. Like, it was very subtle. They didn't try to push it on anyone. But of course, and it was really funny because I made this comment on like the page. I said, here's where all the people who either A, don't even know who D-Man is, or B, have never given a shit about him, are going to come acting like they care about the fact that they've made him gay now. And sure enough, that was exactly what fucking happened. But yeah, D-Man is Demolition Man. He was a former wrestler, and he has enhanced strength and agility, much like Captain America, but just not to the same levels. But later on in his career, he wound up being homeless, and you would see him during, I don't remember, I think it was Brubaker's run on Daredevil, living in the sewers. On like every time he'd appear in comics, they'd be like, "Why do you smell like shit, D-Man?" He was like, "Sorry, I live in the sewers." Because he was fucking homeless.
So he's a homeless gay superhero. They're really headed for a little niche there. There aren't that many sewer-dwelling gay people that are superheroes.
But he's not sewer dwelling anymore. He has a home now.
Oh.
He has his own place, and he commonly is working alongside Sam Wilson as Captain America now. He's got this cool new kind of armory-looking costume, but he also gained a few pounds, and now he has a little beer belly.
Who hasn't, you know?
They're also going after... I wanted to write an article because the article that I was talking about, it was like, "Yup, Captain America's sidekick D-Man is gay." And I wanted to write, "Yup, Captain America's sidekick D-Man is chunky." And like, about like recently revealed in the newest issue of Captain America Sam Wilson, Marvel showed us that Dennis Dumphy, the superhero known as D-Man or Demolition Man, has put on a few pounds. Obviously, they're trying to reach out to the chunky readers.
Yay!
To let them know that it's okay not to look like, you know, Captain America. So he's got the dad bod going on. But I wanted to do that and just write an entire article about that. And I might still do it just for shits and giggles.
That seems like a really niche demographic.
Well, I like the owl from the Watchmen. He was pretty overweight.
Yeah, give us some more like slightly overweight superheroes.
Uh-huh.
Come on, Marvel. I know you're trying to be progressive.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I mean, geez, come on. Get us the chunkies. Yeah? Hey.
Chunky monkeys.
Yeah. But it's such an unfortunate name. I mean, D-Man really, you know, Marvel, when somebody announced that at Marvel, somebody went, like a little kid. Come on.
It started like it was just Demolition, and then they made it Demolition Man, and then it was Demo Man, and now it's just D-Man, and it's very unfortunate, but that's what they call him. I think they should just go back to calling him Demolition Man, but hey.
So he's kind of like Cher. As the years went on, the name just got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, it was like P. Diddy, Puff Daddy.
Yeah.
D-Man. Maybe they think people are saying he's D-Man instead of D-Man. Like he's the man.
Dumb man.
He's the man.
And he's got a really fucking cool facial hair too.
Does it?
Like he's got a really nice mustache.
So it's not like a hair helmet. It's actually like a solid mustache.
Hair
It's like this big mustache.
Curl?
Yeah, it's got a little curl to it and a little goatee.
I wish I could get that. Okay.
like Batrock.
Bad rock.
No, a little bit thicker than Batrock.
Getting back on topic. Comics that are for kids, because we steered off into homosexual superheroes for some reason. Homosexual, chunky, sewer-dwelling superheroes. Wow.
Hey, that category is never not right.
Hey.
That's a great topic. Well, that's actually my next week. That's my topic.
That's your topic next week. Funny.
Two different demographics. We'll talk about homosexual heroes and chunky heroes.
All right, we got it. I think that's
Put them together like chocolate and peanut butter.
For kids, I have Tale of Sand. Tale of Sand, for those of you that don't know, is a brilliant little book that was created by Jim Henson, actually. It was actually a screenplay that Jim Henson had put together. It's a lost screenplay. And eventually, the Henson estate found it, and they wanted to create something with it. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think I am, Ramon K. Perez does the art, and he does the scripting on this series from the original script of Jim Henson. And the art here is gorgeous. There's not much here in terms of dialogue, but I will say it is absolutely stunning. And the reason I chose it is because the art is gorgeous. And if you want something that you can read to your little kid, you could sit down with them, and you could just kind of fill in the blanks with your imagination with them, this is absolutely a great choice to pick up. It's a fun ride all the way through. And the art, let me see if I can show you, is stellar. Absolutely stellar. I mean, just beautiful, lush pages full of really trippy and psychedelic stuff that goes on. Now, I have a theory. My interpretation of this whole story is that it's basically about a man that's trying to quit smoking. And he's going through this desert throughout the whole thing. And then eventually, well, I'm not going to ruin what happens, but it is a brilliant little story that was written by Jim Henson. And I actually would have loved to have seen this made into a movie. He tried to pitch this to a bunch of studios at the time, but the studios all said, look, there's no way this film is going to get made. Nobody's going to go watch this. So the script was dumped somewhere. Eventually, they found it, and Ramon K. Perez loved it, and he wanted to do something with it. So we have this beautiful little collection. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think there is another version of this that's like an even bigger oversized version or a limited special edition version or something of this book. But this is a great pickup for kids.
Nice.
Yes. Also, I think Jess will agree with me. We have Funko Pops.
Oh, goody.
Pops are a great little gift for kind of that, teenager, one person that's in the middle of, they're starting to collect things and things like that. Plus, they're relevant. They have a whole bunch of different characters out there for their favorite TV shows, whether it's Game of Thrones, although I don't know why a 10-year-old will be watching Game of Thrones, but, hey, that's up to you and your parenting skills. But there's
or lack of.
Or lack of, yes. I mean, incest. You got to start them off at an early age, right?
Very true.
Hey, they got to know their shit early on. But yeah, Funko Pops are great, and I'm pretty sure Jess can definitely talk more about them than I can.
Well, I can talk about Funko Pops. Here's one that I recently got, and I love it because it glows in the dark, which I love anything that glows in the dark. And that is an exclusive She-Hulk. Let's see, there we go. I forget where I got this, but I don't know that it's that hard to find. Maybe Hot Topic. But she glows in the dark. And then I think maybe Gabriel got me this. This is maybe my all-time favorite, one of my all-time favorite Pops. Charlie Brown Halloween, dressed up as his ghost with all the holes, handling a bag with a rock. And I love that Pop. It says so much to me that I just love this Pop. Even though Halloween is past, the Pop is timeless, as they say. So, what other Pops do I have within reach? Black Panther's a hot Pop. He's a hot guy. So this is I didn't mean to say he's a hot guy like a hot guy. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I mean, he's a hot character.
Don't backtrack. Don't backtrack, Jess.
Okay, we're getting back into the sewers now. And so he's a bobblehead, so that's really cool. I love bobblehead Pops. And so, yeah, I love Pops. Pops are always a good gift for kids of all ages, especially me. Sweetie Pie, if you're listening, you can give me Pops for Christmas.
Did you happen to pick up Miss Marvel?
I believe someone got it for me. Let me think. Who? I got covered on Ms. Marvel and Scarlet Spider. And I'm trying to think now who on the collector's page got it for me. But I was asleep when the announcement got made last night that they were online and for sale. I went to bed early last night and missed out on the fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe I am covered for Ms. Marvel and Scarlet Spider. And maybe in the chat, somebody can say who it was that got it for me. Yeah, I got them both, so I'm really psyched.
Yeah, Matt Miranda actually contacted me. He's like, "Hey, man, you know the link is up to order it from Walgreens," and I was like, "Oh, awesome, that's freaking cool." But I was working on something at the time, and I thought, you know, I got plenty of time to order it, so I pushed it off. 3 hours later, I see in the group it's sold out. I went, no, because I wanted the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel for a while. And Matt Miranda, I contacted him. He was cool enough to get a hold of me. He was like, "Hey, dude, just so you know, I don't know if the order is going to go through, but I was able to get an extra one, so I got you." I was like, "Oh, you're so awesome." So I'm waiting for him to contact me when he gets it, and he's going to ship it to me.
Gio just mentioned that it was Steve Sanchez that got me Ms. Marvel, and so who was it that got me Scarlet Spider? Gio, now that you know my life better than I do. Who got me Scarlet Spider? That may have been Matt Miranda, if I can think of it. But somebody's hitting on you in the chat there, Luis. They want to know if you're married.
I'm not, but Nick Munoz is my baby daddy, for those of you that are wondering. No, I'm spoken for. I am spoken for, guys. So thank you.
I'm just really overjoyed to hear stories about people helping people out to find stuff.
That's right.
My group is
thanks
working.
to you, buddy. All thanks to you.
Hey, thanks to the group. I scored Annihilation a few weeks ago for cover.
I just sit back and let the magic happen. Everyone else does the work.
Although I am a bit bitter this week that I missed out on the Hickman omnibuses. I was so mad. I was like, damn, I missed out on it by 2 minutes. Yeah. Next time.
Was that Dusty's that he put up?
Yeah, I missed out on it by 2 minutes. I was so mad.
Well, they'll come back around.
Oh,
yeah, it'll come back.
I had PayPal credit ready and everything, and I was like, I'm ready to go, and you know. Moving on to the next category, we've got comics for gamers, and we're gonna go the other way around this time. Mr. Riley, what you got?
Let me just pull it out. Just give me a second.
Whoa, hey, take it easy.
I don't need to see it. I don't need to see it. I don't need to see it.
How about you play with this joystick?
Oh.
Okay, so some of y'all might know who know me and have watched my channel back when I was actually doing things on my channel, Zelda. And recently, Viz published this master edition of the Ocarina of Time manga series. This was originally published in 2 of these smaller, like this size volumes. So it's slightly bigger, thicker, because it contains the entire series in one book. It's pretty nice looking. It's still paperback, but it's got a really nice, gloss. There's embossed like foil on the lettering and stuff. It's just a really good presentation, I guess, for this book. And the price is really nice too. It's only $17.99 cover price for this book, which I think for fans of the Zelda franchise, this is, a really, really great little gift that you could get someone. And they're continuing to publish these because there was of the Zelda manga that have been published that you can buy in a little box set, and they're going to be releasing 5 total of these 2-in-1 volumes. So the next one should be coming out in a couple months. But I just thought that this would make a really good little gift for the gamer friend of yours who might also be into manga or might also be into comics, or maybe you want to get them into reading comics.
How's the story in them?
You have some shots of the interiors there?
I can give you some interior shots. It's pretty much. I wouldn't recommend it if you haven't already played the game. It's pretty simplistic. It's just a really like quick run through the story. It doesn't go much in depth at all. It's just a really quick retelling of the story that goes through in the game. So if you haven't already played it, if you're not already a fan of Zelda, like this isn't going to be for someone who's never played a Zelda game or who doesn't even like those games. This is for the person who's already a fan. And also, this would double for a gift for kids because it is rated all ages. So it's good to give to a kid as well if they're into that stuff. But I have it as like just the fact that I really love Zelda and like everything to do with Zelda. So I bought it, like I sold all my smaller Zelda manga volumes and I went ahead and bought this just because it's, I don't know, I think it's really beautiful. It's fun to see the artwork interpreted into, you know, from a video game into the sequential storytelling format. It's really nice.
Well, that is really nice looking.
I love Zelda. I love Link. I love the whole Triforce story. I love it all.
Does it?
Well, there's more of them that'll be coming out. So no matter which game is your favorite, you'll probably be finding an adaptation of it either already out or coming soon. So that is my.
Does anybody get cut in half?
Or does they have sex?
I don't know. That can happen.
I mean, it's been 30 years. Link is bound to, you know, with Princess Zelda at some point.
Someone could get cut in half.
Yeah. It can happen.
I'll cut someone.
Jess, what do you got?
For gamers, I have what came out year 4, Injustice. Gods Among Us, year 4, and I really liked the very first books because there's nothing like seeing Superman smash his hand through the Joker's chest just to snap you back to reality of if there really was a Superman and he decided to take revenge on the man who killed his wife, and it just continues. I think the series quality-wise has stood up for all 4 years, in my humble opinion. And the only reason I don't actually play the video game, because, and I'll tell you the only reason is because I don't like the idea of superheroes battling each other, because I love all the DC superheroes and I don't want to defeat any of them. I know that's an 8-year-old attitude, and basically I am just 8 years old in a 50-year-old body, but I'm older than 50, but that doesn't matter. So I would, that's the only reason I don't play the video game, because I just don't like the idea of Batman beating up Superman and winning or whatever. And I believe there's a longer form story that you can play in the video game, but I'm a first-person shooter type guy, so I just dig the books. And Injustice, if you're a video gamer and you dig that video game, these books are great, just because I like the books. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it, since I haven't played the video game. I'm really sort of talking out of my rear end right now, so you should probably take it away from me quickly before we bust into yo mama jokes.
I mean, I've read bits and pieces of it here. I love the premise. I played the video game. It's a really interesting Elseworlds tale where it's pretty much its own continuity. It's in another universe.
Mm-hmm.
You give it to somebody and they'll go, holy shit, Joker got his chest caved in by Superman. Wow, it's really good. From what I've heard, it's one of the few video game tie-ins that in a lot of ways is better than the video game story, and in a lot of ways adds to it. Like, supposedly he's been kicking ass the past few years that he's been writing this. And I have the first collection that has the first year, and I've been meaning to dive into it. I just haven't gotten into it yet. But I've heard it's great.
It's really good stuff. I've been caught up with it because they finish it at year 5, but it like goes into another series called Injustice Ground Zero. And when that happened, because I was like reading it, just waiting for it to end, and I was like, yeah, I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens. And then when they started Ground Zero, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait until that gets like a year in, and then I'll catch up again, because I was tired of like reading like every other week like a comic, because it doesn't take much time to read it. But it holds up, and it gets ridiculous. Like it goes from just being like regular old superheroes like battling it out to being like, we need to get like the magic characters in here, and you get like all the different like mages and dark like Justice League Dark members fighting against Superman's regime, and it's just like beyond crazy. But it still stands up. It's still pretty good.
Yeah, excellent. Gets my jingle of approval.
I love the jingle. You know, for some reason, it just like brings me to a happy place, Jess.
Okay, well, good. I'll make sure I do it a lot tonight.
Thanks.
Even during the Yo Mama jokes.
Please do. The funniest Yo Mama joke gets a jingle. For me, I actually recommended this last week, but Scott Pilgrim. Chock full of tons of video game references. You are following Scott Pilgrim, who is dating a high schooler, but when Ramona Flowers starts skating through his brain, everything changes. While Scott pursues Ramona, someone else has their sights set on Scott, her 7 evil ex-boyfriends, and he must battle each evil ex-boyfriend in order to date her. It is a fun series full of video game references, full of video game quips in the background, in the foreground. If you have somebody that grew up on classic video games like the Super Nintendo, the NES, the classic NES that just came out, and you have like a relative that is obsessed with the classic NES, which I got one. I'm really happy about that.
Nice.
Really cool. Oh, it's really cool. But I recommend you do pick up Scott Pilgrim. It's a fun read all the way through. It's not necessarily all ages. You're shooting more for your teenage demographic, and if you are somebody that is kind of in your 20s like I am, in your late 20s, and you're still kind of finding your place in life, you know, you've got a lot of things settled down, but you're still not exactly sure where you're going, this is absolutely a book to pick up. The colored editions are lovely. They come with a bunch of special features packed into them, and the coloring is absolutely gorgeous. He's got Brian Lee O'Malley, who's the writer and the artist of this, he's got kind of a anime-ish style where he's got the big eyes and the round faces, but it's still a beautiful little collection. And like I said, it's chock full of special features in the back, so I recommend you do pick these up. However, they are a bit more expensive. If you don't want to get the colored editions, I'm telling you, you're missing out. But if you want to go the cheaper route, there are the black and white trade paperbacks, and if I'm not mistaken, there is a complete set that is out there that is a box set that has all 6 volumes. It's just 6 volumes. The whole story is self-contained, and it is a treat all the way through. It's funny, moving, and it's a blast.
Is the box set in black and white?
Yes.
Yes. It's pretty
color.
cheap. I feel like you can find it for less than $30.
Yeah, the box set isn't that bad. Let me do a quick little Google search.
I'd like it in color. I am very interested in that series.
The color is really fun, but I kept both because there's little differences, such as there's the joke where like the joke about like her hair color changing or something, and then there's a little note in the corner that says like, you know, editor's note, this comic is in black and white. And then in the color edition, it says the same joke, and then in the corner it says editor's note, this comic used to be in black and white. It's funnier then.
Yeah, he does make little changes throughout the series. He changes things in the background a little bit. So there are subtle differences, and he even points it out on his Twitter. He said, yeah, I challenge you guys to figure out what it was that I made changes to the books.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, he did a lot of changes in the first volume, because in the first volume, in the trade paperbacks, he was still kind of refining his style. It's not bad by any means necessary, but it is a bit rougher compared to the final volume, where he's definitely kind of mastered it. But it's really good stuff. Moving
You've
on.
totally hooked me on that. I really want to get it.
Jess, you would really like this. You would definitely like this, especially if you're a fan of kind of more classic video games like the classic Legend of Zelda, NES games, Mother, what else? Earthbound, and the list goes on and on. There's tons of references in the background.
That's awesome.
Enjoy. Yeah, it's a blast. Next one, and you guys will have to fill in for this one more than I am because I'm a bit of a noob in this area, but with Star Wars Rogue One coming out this month, I would recommend next month, not this month. We decided to do a Star Wars category, especially with DC. Wow, DC, I'm messing up all over the place with this. With Marvel crushing it lately with their Star Wars books. Mr. Chess, what do you got?
What's going on with you? Have you ever done a YouTube video before, or what's going on with you there?
No, I have no clue. This whole thing is a sham. I'm telling you.
Well, the first one Star Wars book that I ever read, I never read Marvel or Dark Horse or anything back in the day. So I just picked up, because of the recommendations, Star Wars Darth Vader. And this book was a revelation, written by Kieran Gillen and with art by Salvador Larroca. It is amazing because it's what happens after the Death Star blows up, and what Darth Vader apparently just doesn't get away with it. The Emperor is not pleased, and Darth Vader has to go through some trials and tribulations and prove himself again, and it brings in a couple of new wrinkles that I thought were amazing touches, and that is killer droids, because in Star Wars A New Hope, also known as Star Wars #1, the original #1, not that Jar Jar Binks disaster.
He's a racist character.
We just had droids that were happy and fun and helpful. They've got killer droids in this that are like intelligent and trained to kill. And as a partner, he's got an archaeologist who's out on her own and starts working for Darth Vader. She seems completely normal, completely regular citizen type of person, but she signs up to help Darth Vader. And she's not a Sith. She doesn't have any kind of weird force powers. Which I really like about it, because she just seems like a normal person that has decided to be evil and help Darth Vader, and to further her own finds on the archaeological front. And she doesn't trust Darth Vader at all. She feels like her life's always in danger. But and as of the end of the book, this first book, I really don't know what ends up happening, because this is just the first half of the story. But it is compelling as heck to see what Darth Vader goes through to prove himself again to the Emperor. And it's got, smugglers and killer droids and Wookiees and crazy commanders of various Star Wars type ships. And it is so well written, and it is just I polished the thing off in a night, which is, I'm a slow reader, and for me to read something in one shot is a big deal for me. I just churned through this thing, and it was so good that I think any Star Wars fan will love this, and I can't wait for the next book to come out to finish it off, because it's sort of, it doesn't humanize Darth Vader, but it's further adventures of Darth Vader that are seem completely plausible, that he didn't just say, oh, well, the Death Star is gone, so let me just try and find my son. It's like he has to get back on the Emperor's good side, and what he has to go through to do that. And it's really, really well done. I highly recommend it. I would go so far as to say that this book will make your life better. You need this book in your life. It's awesome. Whether you're a Star Wars fan or not, if you're not a Star Wars fan, get the hell out of this room. You don't belong here. You belong in some other My Little Pony group.
Now, Jess, if we learned anything from last week's live stream, it's that Riley has a great appreciation for the 90s Star Wars films.
Yes,
That's right.
they are obviously the best. Of the Star Wars.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that like I try and forget about those 3 movies.
If you didn't check out last week's stream, go back because I got to talk for a very extended period of time about how great everything was in the 90s. So you can go check that out. But is it my turn? Am I talking about Star Wars comics now?
I just wanted to put something on with Jess. I totally agree with you. I originally read it and I gave it a borrow, but then I reread it, and if I could go back, that'd be definitely one of those things where I would definitely probably score it a little bit higher. I would probably give it borderline buy because I think once you read it again, once you know where the story is going, it reads a whole lot better. It's definitely a slow book, but it plays out more like a chess game because Vader has to stay 2 steps ahead of basically everybody else. And Salvatore LaRocca's art is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. There are a few panels that I was like, okay, this was a little bit rushed, but for the most part, it is stellar stuff. And the way he's able to portray Vader and express Vader's emotions by kind of tilting the helmet or moving things left and right and things like that, that's very hard to do as an artist because the face is really where you get most of your expression. And Vader, for the most part, doesn't have a face. He's got a mask.
Right.
So for him to be able to portray emotion, that is very, very difficult.
That's a good point. But it's got the Omnidog seal of approval, meaning you must buy it. So while it's borderline for Luis, for Braggadocio here, the Omnidog, it's a get it now or I'll be pissed. I'll take it personally.
Go ahead, Riley.
So then I'm gonna talk about I have every Star Wars collection that Marvel has published thus far. But I decided, because I figured that was what Jess was going to pick, so I chose the main Star Wars book by Jason Aaron because they work off of each other. And Jess, if you enjoyed Darth Vader that much, because you haven't read this one yet, have you?
No.
You're going to enjoy this one, but you're also probably going to appreciate what happens in Vader even more.
Oh, good.
Because these stories happen like parallel with each other. And there's points in the main Star Wars book where you see, like, you know, Vader is doing what he's doing and what, you know, the rebels and the characters here are doing in relation to what Vader's been doing in his own series. And, of course, it all leads into there's a crossover called Vader Down, which has a badass scene in it with Darth Vader. But we'll be able to see that in collected form in the second oversized hardcover pretty soon. But yeah, this story... This is the main series. This hardcover collects the first 12 issues of just Marvel's Star Wars, written by Jason Aaron. This book has artwork from John Cassidy. There's an issue with art by Simone Bianchi, and there's artwork as well from Stuart Immonen in here. So we get 3 different artists in here, and all of them do a great job. Purchase in just a fantastic way that looks exactly how they look in the movies, but updated for, like, you know, modern comics. So, you know, it's really fun to see that. As well, I think that Jason Aaron himself does a fantastic job of just locking in that tone that the original movies had. And when I started reading the first issue of this series, when it first started hitting the shelves, I was like, wow, I feel like a kid transported back to the first time that I saw the original movie. And I feel like I'm just continuing to watch and seeing what's happening with those characters. So I personally really loved it. I know some people had their grievances with it, but I think this is a fantastic series. And if you are a Star Wars fan, or if you have a Star Wars fan in your life that has not picked these books up, the pair of these books, Darth Vader and Star Wars, would be a fantastic little gift to give any Star Wars fan who just wants to get more out of the Star Wars universe. And I think what else is really great, and this is a grievance that a lot of people had, because whenever Disney bought the rights to Star Wars, of course, they wiped the expanded universe. And almost everything, probably 90 to 95% of what was established in the expanded universe outside of like really ancient Jedi lore and stuff is all gone.
Mhm.
I know that sucks for a lot of people who were reading these comics and these stories for decades, but for new readers, it's great because there's not like all those characters that are going to pop up left and right that you have no idea who they are. Like it's very, very accessible is what I'm trying to say for anyone, even like, you know, your younger cousin or nephew or something who's into Star Wars and you just want them to get to reading something. So that's my recommendation as far as Star Wars comics go.
Nice. I got to read it.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Not it.
Where'd that come from?
We got reverb. Not me.
I'm sure it must be me for some reason. I blame myself for everything.
Slight technical problems.
It's muted. It's muted on the YouTube channel.
I think we're good. Yeah, we're good.
Open right now.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, so with that said, we're going to keep it moving. And the next category. Now, obviously, I didn't have too much to say about Star Wars because, like I've said, I've only read the Vader story, and I thought that was really good. So I chimed in with Jess on that one. But the next category we have is the books for the fantasy fan. This one, I'm going to kick it off with Riley.
With fantasy, you said?
Yes, sir.
All right. For fantasy, I've got Peter Panzerfaust. And
Nice.
Peter Panzerfaust is an
Oh,
interesting
good.
book by
So-
Curtis Weeb with art by Tyler Jenkins. It's published by Image. There's one hardcover out, unfortunately, for fans like us. Curtis Weeb said that there probably will not be a second hardcover release because the first one, I think, did not sell enough.
Really?
So, yeah, that's what he said a couple times now. I'm hoping that maybe once that last shelves, I think it's happening next month, that he might change his mind. But the unfortunate part is because it is a creator-owned comic, it's all about him putting his own money into, you know, these collected editions. So if he didn't make enough of a return on the first one, he's not going to have any reason to put out a second one. So that really sucks. But if you don't want to grab the hardcover because you don't want to mix formats and stuff, it's also available across paperbacks. Essentially what this book is it's a reimagining of the Peter Pan story, but it's set during like World War II with like, I believe it's the German occupation in France. So the Lost Boys are a bunch of people that Peter is helping to try and get out of France. So it's really interesting because you see all the same characters that you get from like the original tale and like the Disney version of the story and stuff that you've probably seen a million times. And they're reimagined in this setting. And it's really cool because each of them you're like, oh yeah, that works perfectly. And like every character has these little nuances to them. Like Peter just, they'll talk about him and be like, he just seemed to fly across the battlefield. And you see him like, you know, leaping from rooftop to rooftop with, you know, real great agility and grace, so it looks like he's flying. And they'll have little, you know, callbacks to stuff like the Shadow and helping other people fly, and you know, when they meet different characters. And then of course you get Captain Hook in there, or Captain Haken, and you get the whole thing with him getting his hook hand and all that in there as well. So everything that you know from the original Peter Pan story is adapted for this new version. And it's told by the perspective of one of the Lost Boys retelling the story to someone like a journalist or whatever who's asking, you know, what really happened during this time. Series, I had been reading it since the first issue hit stands, And it was a little thing that I kind of picked up on a whim. I hadn't heard anything about it. I knew nothing about Curtis Weeb. I knew nothing about Tyler Jenkins. I just saw the title and thought it was hilarious. I was like, Peter Panzerfaust? That sounds freaking hilarious. So I picked it up, and I was blown away. And it was one of the first single issues that I reviewed for back when I was working on the site Population Go. So I don't know if anyone was familiar with that site when it was still running, but it was one of the first single issues that I reviewed over there. And I just absolutely adore the series. Cannot wait for it to finally end with issue 25 coming out, I think, this month. But if you haven't read it yet, if you enjoy these kinds of comics, you know, World War II comics, if you enjoy fairy tales or fantasy stories, this is something that I totally recommend. And if you don't want the hardcover, if you want the paperback, I'm pretty sure it's still easy to find. And it's, given that it's Image, it's probably a $10 cover price. So that is my fantasy recommendation.
I'm really surprised. Whoa. I'm getting that echo again. I swear to you, I have no open windows. YouTube is muted.
Everything's muted on mine.
Anything.
I'm really surprised that Peter Panzerfaust did not pan out as a hardcover because it was so popular as a floppy. The first printing of the first issue is worth like $100 or something. It's way up there, and it was a really popular comic book. I don't understand what happened.
Yeah, same. I remember like going to my comic shop when issue 1 dropped, and it was almost impossible to get an issue because they were sold out so quick.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened?
That really surprised me that they're not coming out with another. So to finish it, I'm going to have to get it in paperback?
Unless he changes his mind, or maybe we can, fans of the series can convince someone to do like a Kickstarter or something.
I think that's a shame. I don't have the first
so,
hardcover.
too.
I've been meaning to get it, but it's a damn shame that they're not able to collect the entire thing in the format that they started it because they're afraid that they won't get enough sales to meet the amount that they put into it. That sucks.
I totally agree.
It's kind of the same, but you know, that's what happens with Image. You know, if you got to sell for what you can get.
Right.
Creator own, unfortunately.
Maybe they can publish just like 5.
Yeah.
We can get one, a couple other people can get one. Everyone will be happy. Everyone that matters, you know.
Well, essentially the same thing happened to Ghosted. I tweeted James Robinson. What was Joshua Williamson? I believe Josh Williamson. And I was like, dude, I fucking love Ghosted. Ghosted is so good. You're one of the best writers that's out there right now. And I said, is there any chance we will get a Ghosted hardcover? And he said, unfortunately, the series didn't sell well, so he had to stop the series early or take a loss on it, and we never got a hardcover of it.
That was such a good book.
Right? Ah,
I love the book.
it was so good. It really, he stuck the landing well. Like, he was able to end the series well, but you could tell that he had a lot more planned and it was rushed. Oh.
Who's in trouble?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just playing at our roommate or something.
Okay, for me,
Ooh, do you have a hot, sexy roommate like Three's Company?
as far as fantasy goes, I have the antithesis, the opposite of what a traditional fantasy story is. I have the first volume of I Hate Fairyland.
Awesome book. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. This retails for about $10, so it's a real cheap buy. You can probably get it off in stock trades for like $6, $7. But I Hate Fairyland is the book for the person that is in love with fairy tales and, you know, fantasy, but is also kind of tired of the traditional stuff. The series centers around a little girl named Gert. And Gert, at the beginning of the story, is sucked into this magical, mystical little fairy tale land. However, Gert can't get out of it, so Gert grows up in this fairy tale land mentally, but her body stays the same age. She is trapped in there, and eventually she loses her shit and is tired of this place. And she goes on a tirade, torturing all these people and all these creatures and all these animals that live inside of this fairy tale land on her quest to escape what she deems to be a living hell. This series is hilarious. It is written and drawn by Scotty Young, who, if you've ever read his Oz series, you can kind of tell he probably got tired of drawing the fantasy fairy tale stuff, and it's kind of a backlash in it. It is hilarious. It's fun. It harkens back to kind of a day of classic cartoons where they weren't afraid to be violent. You know, like Tom and Jerry, where somebody will take out an axe and pretty much embed it in a person's head. Now that's not saying that this is for kids. This is definitely not for kids.
No.
But it is a laugh a minute riot. I love this series. I adore it, and I recommend anybody check this out. Her partner, who is a fly, is hilarious. There is a bit in here where you see the passage of time and the house that he lives in, and then the kid. And I'm not gonna spoil the bit, but it is one of the funniest things that I think I've read this year. I love this story. Scotty Young, if you've ever seen his art style, he's got kind of a cartoony style, which if you've been reading comics for a while and you don't know who Scotty Young is, I don't know how. Because
It's so great.
Yeah. He's been doing it. If you've seen the baby variants for Marvel Comics that were really popular a few years ago, that was all him. So I love Scotty Young's art style. He did a Rocket Raccoon series that was really good as well. I love his style. I really do. And the coloring is just beautiful on this series. It really just pops.
Book.
I can't wait for there's got to be a hardcover of this at some point. So with that, I'm going to move on and I'm going to get the door because... Huh?
Hold on. I didn't get to talk about fantasy.
Sorry, I kind of panicked because my fiance is at the door and I need to get it. So go ahead, Jess.
I hate it when real life intrudes on this show. Fantasy. I picked Alex and Ada as my book. It is a treatise on love, loneliness, artificial intelligence, bigotry, the scary future, and one man's quest to find a partner. And it's got Luna, one of the Luna brothers. Let me give me a second. It is Jonathan Luna, and Sarah Vaughn wrote it, and Jonathan Luna illustrated it. It is, well, actually, Sarah Vaughn wrote a lot of it. It is just a wonderful story about what the future it could be like in the near future. I would say this seems like it could happen in our lifetime, about what the future could look like with artificial intelligence and brain implants and talking to people just using your thoughts. But it's a major treatise on one guy's loneliness and what life really is and what people will go through to have a companion. And it is got a great beginning, middle, and I know some people have opined that they didn't dig the end. I thought that he, as Luis would say, stuck the landing on the end. I felt it brought everything together nicely, but some people don't. I guess I can see it, but obviously since I'm recommending it, I don't see it. So I feel that this is an excellent science, sort of sci-fi fantasy book that you can actually read fairly quickly. And it's pretty exciting adventure about what these people go through, Alex and Ada. Alex is the protagonist. He's a human with a brain implant, so that his thoughts, he just thinks things and they happen, like talking to Siri. And Ada is a gift his grandmother gives him, an artificial intelligence robot, and she's completely lifelike. His grandmother uses her artificial intelligence robot strictly for sex, which grosses Alex out all the time whenever they talk on the video phone. But Alex wants a little more out of his living doll, and it's what he goes through to achieve that. I thought it was heartbreaking, moving, tragic, fun, very interesting, and it kept me enthralled and engaged throughout the whole thing. It has to do a lot with what friendship is, what it means, and it's got a lot of consideration of what the human condition is. And I thought through the eyes of artificial intelligence, and I think this is, in my opinion, for me, it's going up there in competition for Book of the Year. So that is Alex and Ada. If I'm pronouncing her name right, I'm going to stick with Ada. This is just a wonderful book for the science fiction fantasy person in your life. Hopefully it's you. It has the Omnidog seal of approval. Buy it and enjoy it.
I haven't read that series. I've wanted to, but the description that you're giving reminds me a lot of the manga series called Chobits or Chobits, which kind of had a similar idea to it, where it was like there are robots out there that they typically get used for companionship, and oftentimes the people will buy the human-sized robots just to fucking have sex with them.
Right.
And the main character like has this one that's more deep than usual ones are. Like she has more of a personality, and he actually like falls in love with her, and she kind of reciprocates that feeling. But he learns that if he was to ever have an actual sexual relation with the robot, that she has like basically a restart switch inside her cooch, and so he can't.
Wow.
To my knowledge, that twist is not in Alex and Ada, but that is a great twist.
Yeah.
Part of the tension in the book is built on the fact that artificial intelligence has created sentient life in these things, and early on in the book, very early on in the book, there's a massacre by an artificial intelligent robot that has acquired sentience and goes on a killing spree. And so there are anti-AI people and pro-AI people. So there's bigotry there for, robots have rights, let them be sentient. And the other people are like, robots are here to kill us. So let's, if you're seen with one, you're looked down upon in society. So it's also a class warfare type of thing too.
That's really cool. Yeah, I've read the series. I love the series. I actually did a recommendation video for it for Patreons. I think it was last week, if I'm not mistaken. That was the Pick of the Week book that I did for them. Really, really, really fantastic. Read all the way through. If you're a fan of the film Her, or if you're a fan of kind of the same concepts of what the HBO series Westworld is doing now, where it's examining the idea of what does it mean to be human, what does it mean to have a soul, what does it mean to be alive, and things like that. It's a really, really great read. Jonathan Luna's style is simplistic, almost to the point where it's deceptively so, but I urge you, if you if you read the series, pay attention to the changes in light in the background, pay attention to the changes in tone in the character, pay attention to the eyes, because he does a lot of little subtle changes throughout the series. At the beginning of the series, you notice that Alex's world is very bleak. It's lacking color. It's very plain. He seems very bored with his life. Once he's introduced to Ada, suddenly the colors start popping in a lot more. It's a really, really good series.
Those are good observations, Luis. You really should do YouTube reviews. Those are great observations.
I know. I should really try to make a living out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't pick up on that, and you're totally right. You're absolutely right about those color changes. I didn't pick up on that. But you're right now that I think about it.
I should start a YouTube channel.
You really should. I mean, you're selling yourself short.
Hey, some would call me the Comic Girl 19 of the YouTube world.
Called you what now?
Some would say I'm the Comic Girl 19 of the YouTube world, only per year. Following up on that, we're going to move on. We're just knocking these out. The next topic of the night is the fan that is into horror books. Now, horror is my bag. I love horror. Horror is my favorite genre in comics, and I had to pick, of course, Severed. Now, Severed is a book that I haven't read in a long time, but Severed is great. Back when Scott Snyder was first starting to get his start, when he was first started writing American Vampire, he did this little collected hardcover edition of a story involving these two kids growing up in, I believe it was the 1920s. And these two kids are on the way to find one of the kids' father. However, along the way, they are chased by this really creepy homeless guy. It is great. Now, the creepy homeless guy turns out to be kind of this serial killer in disguise, and throughout the whole series, the tension is ratcheted up. There's a scene in particular here that I will always remember that involves a bear trap that just sent chills down my spine. It is a really, really great story, and if you're a fan of Scott Snyder's work, what he's been doing with Batman, All-Star Batman, American Vampire, this is one that a lot of people, I think, tended to overlook because it was just dropped, and that was pretty much it. Nobody really picked it up at the time when it was coming out because Scott Snyder isn't Scott Snyder that he is today. It's a really great series, and it's a one-and-done hardcover collected edition with beautiful art by, let me take a look and see the artist, Attila Futaki. Wow. But he does the art and covers on it, and just so you guys get a feel for it.
Someone's saying that's out of print?
Is it? Is Severed out of print now?
I just saw that in the chat.
Oh,
Yeah, I saw that too. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a shame. It's a really great series. Maybe you can get it in trade paperback, but here's a quick sample of the art. I think the art is absolutely gorgeous. It's creepy. There are tons of moments full of tension in here. And if you are a fan of that 1920s style crossing over with horror, this is absolutely a buy, in my opinion, if you can find it. I think the trade paperback is readily available. Jess?
Well, that's a great book because I was going to choose that too, but then when I found out you chose that, I chose something else by the same author, and that is Witches. This is only available, this is the first few issues available, the first arc in trade paperback. Actually, I'm really glad you picked Severed and made me pick Witches because we can get them both in, but this has amazing art. It's got the art by Jock where he does the washes and stuff over the characters, and the splatters and stuff are very effectively used in this. It's just a gorgeous book, but it's also one of the creepiest, scariest out there books that I've read, because it's about witches, all right, but it's about bullies and families and what happens in the family dynamic and what happens in this one little town with these witches. There's always tension in this thing because of the witches that exist, and I don't want to give too much away, but it involves this a girl and her family that moved to this town that is completely got an undertone of evil by it. And here's a typical panel with the little the little scratching noise that the evil makes in there. And I know this is was a popular book, but I think speaking of the colors, making the colors pop, it's really, you know, Jock, you just can't ever complain about him. And then the colors, I think the colors are done by Hollingsworth, if I'm reading it right. Colors, Matt Hollingsworth. And I saw something, oh, okay. There is one of the cool things about this book is for a paperback, it's got Jock's original art, and then it's got what happens to get the coloring done on top of it and how he splatters it to change it. And it's just a fabulously scary, creepy, the hair stood up on the back of my neck type of book, because it's one of those things that is subtly evil, that turns family members against each other. And anytime you have something that's that primal, where you're selling out your family to, and I'm not saying the girl does, the main protagonist in the family, but other families in there. It's an ancient evil that exists, and anytime you've got people turning on each other, like in the Salem witch trials, I dig it, because that means it's really effectively written. Anytime it's a believable thing, where if you think about your family, would you actually turn on your family? That's not something you just generally throw away. Like, oh yeah, I would definitely, narc on my mom if I thought she was a witch. But this makes it believable, the circumstances believable, that the town is consuming itself on this ancient evil, and it's definitely one that stuck with me a long time. That is the sign of a really good series to me. Something that just sort of is in the back of my brain and scratches it. Chit 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 chit. Pledged is pledged, and it's one of those books that sticks with you, and I highly recommend it for horror fans. I really dug it, and Scott Snyder just has a way with horror, definitely.
Definitely. And I know tomorrow his book is coming out. Well, his prose-heavy book, working with Jeff Lemire, After Death, comes out, and I've heard nothing but great things from the pre-release stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. And I agree, Witches is stellar. It's really good.
Oh no, just
I was waiting for
the Omnidog seal of approval. You got to have it in your life. Keep going.
The only thing I have against it is that the splotchy art is a bit too much, just for my taste at times.
Oh, okay.
Just my taste. They are making a movie of it, by the way. They have sold the rights to a film, so I'm
I
really
didn't know
looking
that.
forward. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Good. Well, that'll make all my first issues of it even more valuable, so I can sell them and then get myself a lunar module for Christmas. That's what I really want.
That somebody's saying that jingle is so startling. You never know it, and then bam, the jingle.
That's gonna be the next horror comic, is the jingle.
The jingler.
It'll just be the jingle, and like you'll have people sitting there, and then bam, the jingle.
And that's how they die. The only thing they hear is that sound before they die.
Instead of the violins, weet, 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 you'll hear the jingle. Here comes the bad guy.
I think we've got a premise there. Hey. Riley.
So for my horror, funny enough, I actually thought about picking Severed as well.
Wow.
Because it was one that none of us had talked about when we did our horror show. But I decided against it because I figured I wasn't the only one that had it in my collection that wanted to talk about it. And for anyone who was on the group today, you saw that I was reading some Godzilla comics, and I read the old Godzilla versus Charles Barkley comic, where Godzilla goes one-on-one in a game of hoops with Charles Barkley. And spoiler alert, Charles Barkley comes out on top. But anyway.
That's because Godzilla's got little arms like this.
Why'd you ruin it for me, man? I wanted to read that.
But so I went to my collection. I was looking at the shelf, and I was like, shit, you know what I should talk about is the fucking Godzilla the Half-Century War. Because this is a dope-ass little comic. It's just a little mini-series that came out from IDW, who has had the publishing rights to Godzilla for the past several years now. They've really been hustling with putting out all these different mini-series, and they've all been pretty good, but this one just takes the cake. It's written and drawn by James Stokoe, who is an artist who's done a little bit of stuff here and there in comics. He did the series Orkstain. He's done some stuff, a few little things at Marvel. There was like a Avengers issue that he did that was really cool. And I would call him a maximalist because he puts as much detail into his pages as he can. And it's always really great detail. It's always really fun to see what he does in there. And my wife's making my dog howl right now. I don't know if y'all can hear
Okay,
that.
I was wondering who was being killed in the background.
Hold on.
It's the jingler.
You always provoke him.
Real life jumps in the way again of another Omnibros special.
Anyway, half century more. Basically, it follows this one dude who's fighting against Godzilla, and he had been in the original, battle that they had against the monster when he first appeared back in the 50s, and he's coming out against him again 50 years later. So that's why it's the half century war, and it's just this really beautiful story, beautifully drawn, beautifully told. It's a very intimate story focusing on this one character's perspective on the battle that they've had against Godzilla and a lot of these other kaiju. And as far as horror goes, no, it's not like the most frightening comic that you'll ever hear, but I'm using the term horror lightly because I know that we all have that friend that loves Godzilla and loves kaiju and loves monster movies and Turbo Man and all that stuff, because I grew up totally into all that stuff, and this, like, having this come out was just a dream come true, because it's just everything that I loved about the Godzilla movies and all the Godzilla cartoons and stuff that I used to watch, shoved into this very high quality little package. And I believe it's still available out there. It's not terribly expensive, and they also released a deluxe hardcover later on. This is the paperback, but there's a hardcover out there that came out. I think it's still available. So if you have that that kaiju obsessed friend out there who is still reeling from the new Godzilla movie that came out recently, the Japanese release, that would be the book to grab them. And then you can also give them such other great IDW titles, such as Godzilla Goes to Hell.
Hey, I've heard good things about that.
It's really good. The first issue of that one is actually written by James, or I think it's written and drawn by James Stokoe again. So it's a really cool little look. And then it goes into, like, I forget which issue it is. It might be number 2. It might be a later one. But one of them has, like, that Gustave Doré look of, like, the woodblock art that you'd see from, like, the Divine Comedy and stuff. And holy shit, it's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful issues I've seen for the past few years. So yeah, I actually do. It's a funny title, but I do recommend Godzilla Goes to Hell. It's a really interesting interpretation of, like, Dante's Inferno, but you see Godzilla going through the trials and the circles of hell rather than Dante Alighieri.
That's amazing. First of all, props to you for all the literary references tossed out in there. That's pretty good for somebody that stabbed a canvas with a sword and called it art.
I'm showing my education. I'm sorry.
Yeah, nice way to use that degree.
No, right? I've taken a lot of classes and done a lot of independent study on literature, like both comic and prose and poetry. So
you are the Renaissance man. I'm going to put that on my Christmas list. I could buy it myself, but I would much rather ask my wife to give me Godzilla Goes to Hell than get it for myself. I want her to say, "Here, sweetie, here's Godzilla Goes to Hell for Christmas." That is awesome.
Get both of them. Get Half Century War if you don't already have it, and then get Godzilla Goes to Hell.
Do I need them both to go with each other to follow the story?
No,
they're
very very separate.
Okay.
That you can read entirely on their own, but they're both very well worth it. I'm looking on in stock trades, and Godzilla Goes to Hell, or Godzilla in Hell. Sorry, Godzilla in Hell is available trade paperback for $13.99. Okay. There's also the Treasury edition, which is like an extra large version of just the first issue for $6.99 on IST. So if you want, like, the artist edition size version of that, that's on there as well.
Cool.
Yeah, Godzilla goes the hardcover edition. I have it, and it's awesome. It's
Of
such
Godzilla in Hell?
no, Godzilla Half Century War.
Oh, okay.
That one I just looked up. The paperback is available for $9.99 on in-stock trades for Half Century War, and the hardcover is $24.49.
Yeah, I recommend you guys spring up for the hardcover because the art, James Stokoe's art in oversized format is beautiful. It's really good stuff.
No.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
a fantastic artist. Every single image I've seen from him, I can just spend hours looking at it because it's got so much just thoughtful detail in every single panel and every single inch of every panel that you just want to keep staring at it. Like I could see that hang, like something of his, I would stare at it like, Ferris Bueller stared at the painting in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That would be me with a Stokoe piece.
Okay, if you guys get a chance, here's what I recommend you guys do. Look up James Stokoe's Spider-Man in Vietnam. Awesome.
Yeah, that's a really interesting little thing.
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere. It was just something he sketched out. He threw it on Twitter, but the art on it is incredible. The initial premise was James Stokoe was playing around with the idea of what would superhero characters look like if they were in Vietnam. He draws a badass looking Spider-Man. It looks awesome. I recommend you guys check that out. Do a Google search and it should be the first thing you find out. James Stokoe, Spider-Man Vietnam, and it looks awesome. I mean, I would love to have seen it.
There's a really freaking cool Galactus image that he did, and it's huge. I don't remember how big it actually is, but it's like, I think it's like several feet tall, and it's very detailed, very, very glorious in scale. I wish that I could see it in person because it's like looking at it if you look it up, like James Stokoe Galactus, it's just so awe-inspiringly impressive.
Wow, that sounds bitchin'.
Quite.
All right, now that we're moving on, guys, this is kind of an intermission, and with any intermission, we are taking a bit of a cool down. What are your mama jokes? We are bringing this back from yesterday, from last week, because this was so popular, and we went on like this really weird rant and tirade for like a good 10 minutes of yo mama jokes. So if you've got any, put them in the chat because we could use a quick little break. Because we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sweet Christmas. 5 categories to go through.
That first one's already funny.
We've got 5 categories to go through, and I'm realizing this might have been a huge mistake. So,
we might have to like run through the other ones really quickly.
yeah, we might have to speed this up.
Okay.
So, your mama's so poor, Nigerian scammers wire her money. Nick, you were...
Your mama's so fat that when Ben Kenobi saw her, he said, "That's no moon, that's your mama."
Your mama's so poor, Killer Frost needed to chill you down. What?
Your mama's so ugly, her portraits hang themselves.
Your mama's so fat, her Patronus is a cake. Oh my God, I love these. This was the best idea, Riley.
Your mama's so ugly that when she joined an ugly contest, they said, "Sorry, but no professionals."
Nick, did you just Google your mama jokes before we started the stream?
Yeah, really. He's got a lot.
Or have you been working on them all week?
He's been getting them ready.
Oh my God. Your mama's so poor that your family ate cereal with a fork to save milk. I like that one. I went to a
so fat, she wakes up on both sides of the bed.
Nick, I went to a shitty school. I'm sorry, man. Oh my God. Nobody's got anything else before we keep going. Oh, we'll give it another minute. If nobody's got any more, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna speed through some of these categories because
That's a good one. Your mama is so fat when she sat on Walmart, she lowered the prices.
Your mama got 630 titties. Both point to the floor.
Your mom's so fat you have to roll off her twice. Oh my god. Nick, that last one I'm not even gonna read off.
Ooh.
Let's leave that as one that if you didn't watch the live stream, you missed out on that one.
Yeah, we're not reading that one.
You broke me.
Yeah.
I don't know why that one's cracking me up. Oh my god. Oh goodness. Your mom's lonely when she walks by the monkey exhibit and the zoo. The monkeys say, "Why does she get to go out and play?" Oh, okay.
Man, I used to have like a little book that just has a bunch of like Yo Mama jokes. I don't know where it is. It might still be back home in Houston. So like when I go back, I'm gonna have to grab it.
If you're wanting,
Probably in Yo Mama.
if you want a good laugh, there's this website that lists off all of these movies that are pornos that have the name based on a real movie. It is hilarious.
Is that where I can go find Pokemon sex too?
I'm pretty sure it might be there.
Nice.
Your mama's so fat, her blood type is Nutella. All right. Let's see. You guys ready to keep going, or do you want to keep going?
I'm ready to get back to the broadcast.
I think we should continue just because we're
really gotta
got so much to go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're gonna actually do like a speed round on these.
Okay.
Ones who like comic ones who like comic movies but haven't read them yet. Hasn't read anything yet.
Okay, who's up?
I'll go first since I went last time, I guess.
Okay.
So for this one, I decided to choose, and maybe I'm being ballsy here, Secret Wars, the OG Secret Wars, the 12-issue miniseries that was sell toys because they wanted a little book that had all the heroes in one place. First event comic that I read all the way through. And I thought it was a really great introduction to the Marvel Universe as a whole because it gives you all of these characters in one place, and it actually moves forward into some big concepts that wind up playing through in the 80s of the Marvel Universe, such as, of course, Spider-Man getting his black costume. And I thought it was a really fun little series anyway. The omnibus itself that I have here is pretty hard to find. Jess actually got this for me, or found this for me back in the day before the group was even opened. So I'm very thankful to him, but you can still find it easily in paperback format if you're interested in buying that. I just think it's a good recommendation for people who watch the movies and stuff because they get a fair look at every single character that they know from the movies all in one little place, and it can help them to maybe get into more comics. Maybe other people want to give them more modern stuff, but personally, I think the 80s is where it's at.
That was the first book I ever performed as Omnidog. The very first book I ever Omnidogged.
The first Omnifetch.
That's right. Back before the page, back when you were on your Tumblr page, I I found that for you. My choice is Superman American Alien. Also in the running for Book of the Year for me. I loved all the I've already reviewed this. It is Max Landis with several stories of Superman, but not necessarily as Superman, but it focuses a lot on him as Clark Kent growing up, and it is by different artists, and the artists are all great for all their various chores that they do on the various stories. And it's got my favorite Superman story, I think, ever, It's called Parrot, and this is where he is mistaken for Bruce Wayne. And I love this story. It is simply wonderful, with Clark Kent being mistaken for Bruce Wayne. Then it also has a wonderful story with Superman duking it out with Lex Luthor and Lobo. It is something that I think a person who saw a bunch of now it's not Marvel, and Marvel movies are the ones that are the hot thing, but I think since it starts with Clark as a little kid and basically takes him up to grown-up status, that it I think it would really appeal to just sort of a newbie who has not read comics but is turned on by comic book movies. It sort of just walks you through his life, and in very, very interesting stories that I really loved. And especially the scene here with Luthor, where Luthor just chews him out and makes fun of him basically as Superman, is enthralling. So that's my pick for a newbie who digs movies but hasn't read a comic book: Superman American Alien. It is in the running also for my book of the year. It's in the top 5 for sure.
All right. I'm going to go next, and my pick is Wolverine Old Man Logan. With the release of the upcoming Wolverine Old Man Logan movie, pretty much it's just called Logan, this is definitely a simple pickup. If you are looking for the fan that likes Wolverine, that wants to get into the character but doesn't know where to start, pick him up this. It's old Wolverine. He's badass. He's grizzled. He doesn't really pop his claws out until halfway through, but there's a reason for that. It is a great post-apocalyptic story that I highly, highly recommend you do pick up. Written by Mark Millar and beautifully drawn by Steve McNiven. This is quite possibly one of my favorite Wolverine stories of all time. I recently reviewed this probably like about a month ago, and it's a definite buy. Honestly, I love this series. It's all pretty much one and done. And if you are kind of looking into getting Wolverine Old Man Logan, I know he's been introduced into the proper Marvel universe now. This is where it all started. So
nice. Bet you weren't expecting that one.
I was not. The Jiggler is here to strike.
It's at your back door.
Next one for the manga fanatic. I'm going to start with Riley.
So for this one, I have the box here. The books aren't in there, but for this is One Piece box set volume 3. I chose this. This is my sort of like big ticket item gift, because this is a I think the cover price or MSRP is, yeah, it's $185.99 because it has 26 volumes of the series in there. This includes volumes 47 through 70 of the series. This is the one that just came out last month, so it's the most recent one. That's why I chose that one, but there are 3 of those boxes. They're all readily available. The first one, if it's a fan who hasn't read that series or gotten any of the volumes yet, collects the first like 26 volumes of the series, and you can find it for around $100, which is a really good price for that. I've talked in depth about One Piece before in previous videos. Basically, it's a manga about pirates. It's really awesome. It's really long. It's really epic, and I love it. It's one of my favorite ongoing titles of all time, and I've been reading it for over a decade now. About all I have to say on that one. I just wanted to pick something big, because you all know you have that one friend or that one family member that you buy that big ticket item for.
Jess.
Well, this will go quick for me because I don't read manga. So, boom. Take it away, Luis.
Hardcover. My pick is Tokyo Ghoul. I just finished it this week. My review went up for Manga Mondays. Tokyo Ghoul is set in Tokyo, Japan, as you would imagine, and it centers around this kid named Kaneki. Kaneki is your traditional 18-year-old kid. He's going to college. He's living his life out. Suddenly, one night, he decides to, hey, I want to go out on this date with this young woman. Unfortunately, when he does go out on this date with this young woman, he soon finds out she is a ghoul. She tries to kill him, but by happenstance, a bunch of pillars suddenly fall onto the woman, and in order to save Kaneki's life, her organs are transplanted into him, thus turning him into a ghoul himself. Now, when you think about ghoul, you traditionally think about, oh, these Fallout 4 irradiated guys where they're emaciated, their skin is falling off, and things like that. Not necessarily the case in Tokyo Ghoul. They can look like you and I, and they can interact with us and be normal just like anybody else. It's a really great series with a really great hook, and the world that is built in just the first volume alone made me instantly want to go out and purchase all these subsequent volumes of this series. It's fascinating, it's great, it's fun, it's fast-paced, and if you're a fan of mangas that are filled with action and the pace is not slow, I'm looking at you, I Am a Hero, then this is absolutely a buy. Next up, we're knocking these out. For the ones who hate superheroes. For the family member that is just wants to be a contrarian and says superheroes are played out and they're not fun.
I would say shut your whore mouth to them.
That's essentially the response too.
I chose The Fade Out for that. This is one of the top Brubaker, Sean Phillips books, I think, that has been done. We've talked about it lots of times, so we probably don't need to go over it again, but this is a wonderful book that I think anybody, great colors, great art, fabulous story, anybody that's into crime fiction will dig this. I think that, actually, now that I think about it, my sister, who is very literary and is a writer herself, I think this might be a good book for her. I generally don't involve her in comic books at all, but I think she would dig this. And now that I think about it, I may send this to her. She read The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay and loved it. So she knows about comics, and I think that this might be a good book for me to send her for Christmas. And The Fade Out, fantastic crime story, beautifully drawn, written, and colored, and I dug it to the max. That definitely gets Major League jingles for me and the Omnidog seal of approval. Buy it and make your life better.
Riley?
So, like I said, my response is pretty much "fuck you." Read superhero comics, and I chose Man by Grant Morrison. But the specific reason I chose this is because, so my wife is not very into. Of the few comics that she's read, none of it's superheroes except for Animal Man by Grant Morrison, and she actually really enjoyed that series. And the reason that I would pick this for someone who doesn't really like superheroes is because it kind of takes the superhero genre and goes with it, and you get some pretty standard superhero action in here, very 80s, like late 80s, early 90s type stuff. And all of a sudden it just twists it on its head and shows you what the comic book medium can do. And I've talked about this book in length many, many, many times because it is my absolute favorite comic of all time. So that's why I choose this one. This is the one that I give people as like, this will convert you. Hopefully I'm not wrong. Like if you're not a fan of superheroes, just because of how fantastically written this story is, and how it just goes places that when I was first reading it, I didn't expect it to go. And this is the book that solidified Grant Morrison as my favorite writer. So that's why I've chosen Animal Man. This is, of course, the omnibus edition, the all-in-one, thick-ass hardcover, but you can also get it across 3 smaller paperback editions, which I believe are still cheap and easy to find if you don't want to go all in. But let me just say that if you do go for the paperbacks, you've got to keep in mind that it really, 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 really hits its stride, I believe, about by the time volume 2 starts or something around there.
Yeah.
Because at first you just, you know, it's kind of hinting at bigger things to come, but it's very typical superhero type stuff. And then when you get past that first, like you get that hump and you get to that point and you're like, oh shit, okay, all right, I see what's going on. And then it was something that I couldn't put down.
Yeah, it's a great read.
That was really during the golden age of Vertigo.
Yeah, that was it was actually one of the series that came out before Vertigo even started, and then later was relaid into a Vertigo series, because it was one of those books that gave there a reason for DC to start a mature reader imprint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, along with Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, that was one of the first books that Vertigo decided to publish because you've got Swamp Thing fucking a woman. Okay, well, you've got a plant having sex with somebody. All right, Alan Moore, we're gonna take this little moment and we're gonna put it over here and we're gonna start a new line of books. Jess.
Yep. I let it off. It's up to you.
Oh, this is on me. For the ones who don't like comic book movies, I say the same thing as Riley, but I'm going to actually take this a bit farther, and I'm going to recommend the Parker series. Parker, written by Darwin Cook, who translated the original Donald Westlake series of books into graphic novel format. The Parker series is a great crime story with beautiful art that follows the character of Parker around as he performs various heists, various investigations, and various criminal things. You end up rooting for Parker, but he is not a good man. Parker is a very bad man, in fact. However, he is awesome, and I love this series. The art is simply gorgeous on this series, and if you have kind of like a dad or maybe a grandfather or something like that, they're not really into comics or anything, but they do like great crime stories, and they're really into old school films, kind of like your John Woo's Hard Boiled, things like that. This is definitely the series to give them. The art is stellar, and the Martini edition, which is what I'm showing off right now, is very much out of print, especially with Darwin Cook's passing. And there were plans to put out a second Martini edition. Unfortunately, did not happen because Cook had passed away. Although I think there is enough content right now to put out a second Martini edition, but I don't think we're going to see that for a very long time if they decide to do that. But this is a fantastic read. If you have a family member that really isn't into comics, he's not really into the tights and cowls, but he loves crime books. I love this series. This is actually one of my crown jewels in my collection. And when Cook was alive, he threw in a free sketch in there. Cook used to do that for pretty much anybody that they would bring an Absolute or an Omnibus. He would be happy to throw that in there for you. There are smaller hardcover editions of this. There are smaller trade paperbacks editions of this. I recommend you check this out. And that's for that one. Moving along, for the sports fans.
Who came up with that category?
I think that was
me.
Riley.
Let Riley lead this one off.
So I came to that category because I have so many people in my life that are the exact opposite of me. They don't like comic books, but they love sports, and I really don't know anything about sports at all. But what I do know something about is sports manga, because there are so many of them, and there are so many great ones. And so I thought this would be a fun little category because maybe you can get a comic that member of your family might actually pick up and look at because it's something to do with maybe their favorite sport, football. So I've got iShield 21 is a manga series by Inagaki is the writer, and then the art is by Yusuke Murata, which is actually the artist for One Punch Man. This is a series that he did before that. It lasted for 32 volumes, and it's about a high school freshman named Senna who starts off school, and he's used to being, he's a little guy. He was bullied a lot when he was in middle school. People would use him as kind of a gopher, and he became really fast at running. So he comes into school, and the seniors at his new school start to bully him again, and they notice his talent, that he's a really fast runner, and they decide, hey, we need to get this guy, him to be on our football team, because these two guys, and you find out that they're seniors, and their football team for this high school has never gone anywhere. They just need a fast runner, because they have someone who's got the girth, who's very strong, and you've got someone who's got a strong arm and a strong leg who can throw and kick, and that's their quarterback. But they don't have anyone who can run fast. So they finally find Senna. They make him join the team, and this 32-volume series is about Senna's journey to becoming a real, football player, a real high school football player, and helping this team achieve victory, and helping who are about to graduate achieve their goal of actually making it to, the world tournament and stuff as far as high school football goes. It's a really great, heartfelt series, but what's fun about sports manga series is that they all have that same feeling as like any sort of like fighting manga series. So they make it to where there's always like, rivalries and people fighting against each other and using secret techniques. So it's ridiculous and over the top about football. So that's my recommendation there.
That was just an excuse for you to work in more manga.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Start putting a ban on manga. Right.
Well, when it comes to sports, you think Olympics, and when you think of Olympics, you think of mythology. And when you think of mythology, you think of Wonder Woman. So she's my pick for the sports category because this is easily the most gorgeously drawn Wonder Woman book ever. She can kick anybody's ass in any sport, and she does so in this book repeatedly. And it is the most accessible Grant Morrison book ever. It is extremely well written with gorgeous art by Yannick Paquette. And she proves her Amazonian talents regularly in this book through many contests, and she is quite the champion, and she manages to look good in it all the time. And of course, she's in chains some of the time because there's that old sort of bondage thing that she was created with back in the Golden Age. So they continue that. Although bondage isn't really a sport, they do have they do manage to work in the chains. And I mean, just look at this. It is just beautiful art and so well done, so well drawn. She's definitely my kind of Olympian, and that's my sports book for 2016, gift giving. Give this to the sports lover in your life, and if they don't dig it, they're stupid.
Well, that's an interesting choice. I'll be right back. I need to grab my charger.
A bit of a stretch, but I got it. I like it. I like good choice.
I had nothing else.
No, it's fine. Me, I went with Southern Bastards.
Oh, good call.
Now, I'm going to stretch it a little bit too, because Southern Bastards isn't especially about sports. However, football plays a huge role in this series. For those of you that have never read Southern Bastards, you are cheating yourself on probably what is Jason Aaron's, who I think we've mentioned multiple times on this stream tonight through different categories.
Yeah.
Jason Aaron's, what I think is his best book currently running right now. Southern Bastards is incredible. If you are looking for a good, hard-boiled crime story, this is the story to pick up. I love this series. The series centers around this mob boss named Ulyss Boss. At the beginning of the story, Ulyss Boss is basically challenged by oh my god, I forgot the name of the main protagonist, Earl Tubbs. That's who it was. Is basically challenged by Earl Tubbs at the beginning of the series because Earl Tubbs comes back and he starts realizing this town is corrupt, so he decides to go around the town cleaning it up with this big stick. Now, I won't ruin what happens at the beginning of the first arc because that is literally one of the biggest, oh man, moments that I had in a real long time, where the series literally goes south on you in a matter of a few panels, and you think what you think you know is going to happen does not happen. And Jason Aaron is really good about that. He's really good at pulling the rug from under you. He did it with Scalped, and he did it with this series. If you are a fan of Scalped, this is kind of the spiritual successor of it. Art by Jason Latour, who For some reason, he thinks his art isn't that good enough to put in an oversized deluxe edition. I disagree, but it is a fantastic series, and you can pick up the first trade for like $9 if you're into crime stories. And football plays a huge part of it because he's the football coach of the team, and there's a bunch of football references in the book. So there is that. The final category of the night, and what is personally my favorite category, the one that I've been waiting to get to, is this. This category is the one that I wanted to do. For the person that you hate in the family.
Well, not necessarily in the family, just someone you hate.
There you go. For the person that you hate. Could be your boss. Could be your relative. Could be your cousin, your uncle. Could be that mother-in-law that you despise. Could be anybody like that in your family. Maybe even your brother. But this is the category for the person you loathe. That you give them the trashiest book that you can find.
It could be Evil Riley.
It could be Evil Riley, whose address I will put in. No, I'm kidding. So go ahead, Jess.
Oh, this is my favorite category. If you get these books from me, you know I hate you. As a matter of fact, I don't even own these books. I had to Google them and print up copies, and I don't even know if these are the comic book covers or the main covers of the book. I did not have copies with me because not only I refused to donate them to anybody because I didn't want anybody to know that I owned these books at one time, nor that I wasted my time reading them. If you get these books from me, you know that you suck because these books suck. And that is Kevin Smith's Cacophony and The Widening Gyre. These books are, first of all, let me say, Kevin Smith's Green Arrow, I loved it. It was great. I got nothing against Kevin Smith. I loved Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, fine. I watch Comic Book Men. It's okay. I like watching the dynamic. But God Bless America. These books stunk out loud. There's no way this is Batman. There's no way that this happens. I'm aware that we're talking about a superhero, that you're supposed to suspend disbelief. I can't suspend my disbelief enough to accept that Batman would do the actions that he does in these books because they are dumb. It is poorly written, cliched, unbelievable, not in the realm of possibilities. These things definitely get them for someone you hate because they sucked terribly, and it's not even finished. That's just 2 of the books. We've been waiting like 5 or 6 years for the 3rd one. Well, guess what? I'm not waiting anymore because they stunk. So F you to whoever I give those books to for Christmas.
Doesn't Batman piss himself in one of those?
I can't even. I can't even remember. I'm trying to blot it out. It's like the Jar Jar Binks of comic books. I'm just trying to block it out. Yeah. It's not even reasonable what was written about him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's like in the middle of a fire and he pisses himself so he doesn't dehydrate or something weird like that in one of those books.
God.
Oh, goodness. Okay, Riley, come on. I know you got something for us. It's got to be. Is it Greg Land? Be honest. Is it Greg Land?
It's not Greg Land. It's actually something that I dislike even more than Greg Land.
Oh, what?
And I don't know. Some people are going to be kind of surprised at this, but if you know me, you know what I've talked about as far as comics go. You know that I've mentioned how much I hate this run. It's one of the few runs that I openly talk about how much I loathe because I almost always give very positive reviews of everything because I find something to like in everything that I read. And I know a lot of people like this run, but I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't.
You're going to tell us why we're wrong.
Yeah, and that's Daniel Way's run on Deadpool.
Wow. I think my subscribers just dropped.
That's fine. They can go.
It's not your channel, that's why.
So Daniel Way, his run on Deadpool started pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a little while since I read it, but it started pretty good. He had a decent idea behind it. He was taking the character and moving him into a pretty decent direction by kind of putting him back into the Marvel universe, because for years he'd kind of been in his own corner. He was doing the whole Cable and Deadpool series where they were doing their own thing, more dealing with their own things or dealing with things involving the X-Men. So they went ahead and Daniel Way first started writing him in Wolverine Origins. And that arc was pretty amusing. He did a pretty good job of making Deadpool funny, fighting against Wolverine, introduced the character to a lot of readers that way. And then he went on and did his ongoing series. And in the beginning of the series, it was pretty good. It was tying into different events like, Secret Invasion. It tied into, there was a little crossover with Thunderbolts for the Dark Reign. It had him fighting against Bullseye when Bullseye was dressed up as Hawkeye. And then it started to go way, way south. It started to go very far south because at that point, Way was no longer writing Deadpool as, like, he threw the previous interpretation of the character of this just dark, tortured character who hates himself, absolutely fucking despises himself, and tries to, redeem himself by, like, self-mutilation and things, and took him and turned him into a punching bag that just, was made to like spill jokes and make memes and stuff. It was that, like, simplistic sense of humor that we previously had. This very, it was a very smart, dark sense of humor that Joe Kelly gave us back in his run, and Daniel Way just turned him into a slapstick character. And that can be fun every once in a while, but to have that for over 60 issues and just degrade him further and further and further with every passing issue, having him change hands and be beat up by one member of the Marvel Universe to another, just to become the meaningless punching bag of the Marvel Universe, was just an insult to the character. And the book obviously got sales. That's why it went on for so long. But I'm just so surprised that Marvel would allow for the character to be written by Way for so long. Thankfully, there were other choices you could have as far as Deadpool books to read around that time. And then after he was done, they handed the book off to Jerry Dugan and Brian Posehn, who did a pretty great job of rebooting the character. And Jerry Dugan's done a good job of continuing him in a way that's more befitting of what Joe Kelly had interpreted him as back in the day. And now I'm all for, kind of having a writer give their own interpretation of a character, but to take a character and just disrespect him and just shit all over him when he was previously an amusing and interesting character to read about, it's just, I couldn't get behind it. And I'll admit, I was reading the series when it was coming out, I was buying the issues, I was enjoying it, but then I found myself about issue 15, every single issue that came out, I was like trying to give more and more excuses and find more and more little things to like about it. And eventually I couldn't do it anymore. And it just, now I just cry at night.
Oh my God. It was that bad. Wow. You okay?
Yep.
You okay, Riley? You want me to tell
If
you?
y'all want to go out, there's 4, I believe, complete collections of the entire run. They're out there. You can read them. If you've got, the 13-year-old sense of humor, you'll probably enjoy it, because I enjoy some of the fart jokes too. But there's so much better stuff out there. And if you want to show someone what's good about the character of Deadpool, that is the last run that I would ever recommend. In my opinion.
So you guys out there, if anybody in the Facebook group gets that for Christmas, Riley despises you. And you should leave. Okay, moving on for me. All right, look, I don't got the book, and I'm not spending money on it. I'm going to tell you right now, this piece of shit was quite possibly the worst thing I have ever had the mispleasure of reading. I am talking about the New 52 Red Hood and the Outlaws, written by Scott Lobdell. Scott Lobdell has the writing of somebody that is stuck in the 90s and didn't get past his first wow, shit, and I'm talking like a first grader. The fifth grade writing course in his elementary school. The writing is terrible. Starfire is a whore, and the series was garbage. Period. I am sorry if you like the series. I really am. I don't know what I can do for you. I don't know if I can help you. If you want me to send you some good books or some recommendations, please let me know because you deserve so much better than that. I'm sorry. I hate New 52, Red Hood and the Outlaws. I think it is possibly the bane of the New 52, and it is pretty much every single thing that is wrong with the New 52. I hated it. I read the first issue. I dropped it. I couldn't get past the first issue. Okay, let's take Starfire for a second. Let's back it up.
That was just, ugh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Because I did the same thing. I read the first issue and I was like, nope.
I dropped it after I didn't even finish it. I got halfway through that shit and I was like, yeah, I'm burning this in the backyard. Starfire in the series is a whore. And according to her, on her people, it's perfectly fine. On her planet, it's perfectly fine to have sex with whoever she wants. So she pretty much wants to sleep with everybody on the Red Hood and the Outlaws team. I don't know where Scott Lobdell pulled that shit out of his ass. I don't know what DC editor decided to go with it. But hey, you know what? Whatever. That was enough for me to drop the damn book. I give everything a fair chance on my channel. I really do. There are very few books on this channel that I will say you should give it a hard pass. This is one of those books. And if you ever get this book from me in the mail and I sold you something, it's because you were complete and total asshole to me on this channel or in the Facebook group, and I really don't like you. That's my mini rant. And I like Jason Todd. He deserves a better book. Like you guys said, he deserves a much better book than that. It's a shame. It really is.
He's been written a lot better than that. Like, Judd Winnick writes him pretty good. Like, Judd Winnick should have been writing him in the New 52. I'm sure there was reasons why he wasn't, but he should have been. I would have probably read whatever he wrote.
Who dares suggest Red Lantern Supergirl was not great? That was the whole reason to read that run, was that a Kryptonian Red Lantern was awesome.
Was that Charles Soule?
He did use her in his Red Lanterns, but in the actual what was it, like Anthony Johnson or whatever was writing it, Mike Green, I forget who exactly it was, but they did turn her into a Red Lantern during that series.
I did think that was fun. I liked that run when she was a Red Lantern for a little bit.
I haven't read her solo series, but I did read all of Red Lanterns when Soule was writing it, and that was choice.
Do yourself a favor. If you're looking for a great Red Hood series, there is a mini series, Red Hood, I think it's called Under the Hood, that explores the time between Jason Todd when he was first uncovered by Ra's al Ghul and him going through training leading up to the Under the Red Hood storyline. Great. Really, really great story. If you're looking for something that fills in the gap between that timeline when Jason just first came back, it's a great read. I recommend it.
And if you're looking for something Batman, you can choose anything else but the Kevin Smith books. Anything.
Okay. So with that, guys, I think we've given them probably about 7 shows worth of topics in one. We're going to go ahead and end this tonight. We're not doing a Q&A tonight simply because we are running super late and I'm hungry and tired as well. So we're going to jump to Jess. Where can they find you?
You can find me, Omnidog, on the Omnibus page, shopping, trying, swapping, community, and stop and shop. What's the name of it again, Riley?
I believe it's the Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and Community.
That's what I always get tripped up on, that community part. Yeah, find me there and I'll make your dreams come true. Just like I made Riley's Secret Wars dream come true a year and a half ago.
Secret Wars 1 and 2.
Yes. That is true. My very first Omni dog move.
Jess is working on getting me the Hickman omnibuses, so fingers crossed it'll happen one day.
I'm there for you, buddy.
Riley, where can they find you, pal?
You can find me. I was gonna say right here, but I realized we're not on my channel. You can find me on my channel. You can just look up the Omnibus Collector, or it's Riley Mo, RYLEYMO. Also, my website, theomnibuscollector.com, and of course the aforementioned Facebook page, The Omnibus Collectors Comic Swap and Community.
As for me, you are already right here. This is my channel, Hardcover Reviews. You can follow me on Twitter at Hardcover Review. You can follow me on Facebook at Hardcover Reviews. And if you want to keep this channel alive, and I'm sure most of you do, as little as $1 a month, you get exclusive videos. You can find me there through wow, I butchered that. If you want to keep this channel alive, I'm really tired. Sorry, guys. If you want to keep this channel alive, my Patreon is located in the description below. For as little as $1 a month, you guys get exclusive videos not seen anywhere else, and you help keep this channel going. So there's that. And you can as well find me on the Omnibus group. I'm always posting deals, and I'm always trying to sell books and trying to buy books. So there's that. Thank you guys so much. And with that said, I think we're going to end this with a very hearty, because we haven't said it, fuck Greg Land. So, all right, 3, 2, 1. Fuck Greg Land. Good night, guys.
Good night.